government of Nigeria hosted Civil Service Conference, a gathering that brought together experts and practitioners from around the world to share knowledge, experience, and best practices in public service delivery. Nigeria hosted this prestigious International Civil Service Conference, providing a platform for global dialogue on innovative solutions, challenges, and opportunities in civil service. What are the main objectives of the conference, and how does it align with Nigeria's development goals? What were the key takeaways from the conference, and how does it impact on Nigerian civil servants? This and more will form part of our discussion on the program, Nigeria Today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ikaria Clinton. Now with me for the conversation is Dr. Deborah Odo. She's a Permanent Secretary, Service Policies and Strategies. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Also with us is Mr. Alfred Abba, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Civil Service Matters, working with the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians.
Yeah, before we go into the conference, of course, which you have mentioned during the introduction, we're talking about civil service in digital era. Can you tell us a little bit of what it used to be and where we are right now?
I joined the civil service 24 years ago, and the usual thing is to have files and papers, and you would have loads of files that you had to treat and move from one desk to the other. But the beauty about it is that now, to a large extent, we've gone digital. I remember a few years ago, my sister in the central bank would tell me about how they would work digitally, and I couldn't understand it. But now, it's the same thing for me. So the files come on the system. I work on those files. I send them to the directors. The directors send them down, and then they come back up, and I manage them on the system as well, and send to the head of the civil service of the Federation. And all our correspondence actually to our stakeholders, and those coming in are also sent in digitally. So that's a big one for us.
So, you, Abba, talk to us. How have we, been, adjusting to these, the new digital era? I know the files have not really disappeared entirely, really, but we've gone very far.
Okay, so. Thank you very much. By the way, I retired from service 5th July 2024 before I got this appointment. I retired as director in the Office of Chief of Staff in the Presidential Villa. You see, a lot of the ministries, the files have disappeared. Even where they have not disappeared, they have actually digitized all their files and in the process of transiting to digitalization. So, as a matter of fact, by December 31st of this year, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation has given a mandate to all the permanent secretaries that they must ensure that by December 31st, the files are done with. And everything, all the processes across the MDAs are on electronic management, electronic content management system.
Okay.
So it is expected that, in fact, let me tell you, as we speak, in the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, we do not accept hard copy letters anymore, mails or communication. You have to send your mails, your letters, or whatever communication you have online. And that way, head of service, who is at the helm of affairs there, distributes to the permanent secretaries, and it trickles down. And then again, every officer who has any responsibility to those issues treats, and it gets back to the head of service. So we are fully digitalized in the Office of Head of Civil Service of the Federation.
Now, back to you, Dr. Odo. I know so much so the files, just like Mr. Abba mentioned, they disappeared. But however, I know we're still facing one or two challenges. What are some of these challenges, and how far do you think we've gone in nipping them in the bud?
So one challenge we had was the issue of official emails. Because with all of this, you do need your official email to communicate. And because of cost, we had to limit the number of staff that would have access to the official emails. But then recently, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation had tasked set up war rooms so that we could achieve our goals. And in the digitalization war room, they came up with an idea that enabled us, working with Galaxy Backbone, to have access to uncountable email accounts. So right now, we have the capacity for every civil servant to have an official email, every public servant to have an official email. It looks like a small thing, but it's a big one because the cost, it saved so much money, and now everyone has an official address that we can use to communicate. And that's one of the steps, at least, we've knocked off in our road towards digitalization. There are a number of other things we've been able to do. I don't know if you've heard about our Service-Wise GPT. So that's about, we're using AI.
Tell us about it.
Yes. So we're using AI. And so I had known about ChatGPT, but when this current head of the Civil Service of the Federation came on board, she brought an idea, and we decided to use AI within the service. So our Service-Wise GPT actually has the Constitution, the Public Service Rules, Procurement Handbook, the financial regulations, all the government documents, circulars, past circulars, a number of things loaded onto it. It's been trained with those things. So now, as a civil servant, you have a case, a staff has been habitually late, and you want to put up the memo. All you need to do is ask Service-Wise GPT. This staff has been habitually late. What are the steps I should take? You key it in, and it tells you everything. It tells you the public service rule that you would quote. It just lays. It can even do the memo for you, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You can use it to write letters.
So it saves time.
Query becomes very easy.
Yeah. But again, you have to prompt it with the right directives. You have to give it some prompts.
Okay.
And then, even if it gives you an initial draft and you are not very satisfied, an additional prompt will bring the right result.
Okay. You
can even in NTA you can use it. In fact, for the public service, like you said.
Yes, of course.
So you should. It simplifies the work.
My bosses are listening, really.
Yeah. Can I give you a typical example of how it helps you to deliver on your work? When a meeting sometime back with the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, and she sent me a message. Where is the speech that somebody representing her at a function was meant to use? I just looked. I was blank because I didn't have that task initially. But on a second thought, I was thinking of what to do. But immediately I said, it came to my mind, Service-Wise GPT, and of course I gave it first of all. I snapped the letter. Well, I had a soft copy. I put it on Service-Wise GPT. I prompted it, give me an appropriate speech for this occasion for somebody who's going to represent the head of the Civil Service of the Federation at this function. He now gave me a draft speech. It was okay. It was meant to be a goodwill message. So again, if it gives you a result, you need to work on it still.
Of course.
So I took some time to do some
touches here and there, dot the I's and cross the T's.
And I sent it to her. And I told her it was there. She read it and she gave me thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I said, wow.
Okay, I haven't talked about that. Now let's go to the conference. So what's the primary purpose of International Civil Service Conference being hosted by the federal government?
So the International Civil Service Conference took place yesterday and today, and hosted by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. And it brought together civil servants from across the country. So one unique thing about it was that we had civil servants from all the 36 states and the FCT, as well as from across all the core ministries and many agencies. A lot of civil servants, public servants in the room across Nigeria. We also had guests from outside the country. We had experts who came in from countries that had succeeded in certain areas, so digitalization, innovation, leadership, various areas. We had participation also from delegates from other countries. So it was an amazing time, we had plenary sessions, we had panel discussions. We also had roundtable discussions, closed roundtable discussions, where we were able to, for instance, talk about minister-PAMSEC relationship and how to cope. So we had those small ones, but altogether it was awesome.
Now, Mr. Abba, talk to us about some of the key takeaways that that stood out for you in that conference.
Well, honestly, one, a message was sent to the to the world, that the Nigerian civil service is strong, resilient, and dynamic. Like she said, this particular edition is the maiden edition of the International Civil Service Conference, and it was huge. We planned for 5,000 delegates, but we had over 5,000 obviously. And it's clear that the civil service in Nigeria is very strong, and we can deliver. If you saw the largeness of this conference, we had about 8 breakaway rooms, 3 round tables, and the plenary. So that means for me that the civil service was able to put this together was huge, was a huge success. And we also built capacity over the 2 days period to strengthen our leaders, for an agile workforce, and for improved service delivery. So basically, and because we had people from other climes in attendance, they also shared their experiences. So that would have impacted positively on the Nigerian participants. So the whole purpose was to build a very resilient, strong, and a well-skilled civil service, to improve the skill of civil servants. So I believe we have achieved that.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break now. The conversation will continue after the break. Don't go away.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow, under digital economy, for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is still Nigeria Today, and we're talking about the civil service in digital era. And of course, I have a gentleman and a lady in the house to talk about, to have this conversation. So, Dr. Odo, of course, we've had some of the takeaways, so according to Mr. Abba, of course, that he got from that. Now, in what way is this conference expected to reposition the civil service in Nigeria?
So one of the things that we talked about had to do with culture change, changing mindsets, changing work, your attitude to work, behavior. We had a session today that spoke to customer service delivery and how you had to understand that the public is your customer and each person needed to be treated politely, respectfully, and that, of course, they pay our salaries and we owe them that duty. So culture change was one thing. We also talked about innovation, and not just about service-wise GPT, but other areas in which we could bring in innovation into the service to make sure things are done more efficiently and more effectively. Digitalization, of course, not just of processes, but in various aspects, in various ways. Our permanent secretaries were in attendance, and other, cadre and levels of civil servants. So a number of people, it was also like, we had live streaming. So we had a lot of people exposed to simple, practical things that we could do to actually ensure that the promises that Mr. President makes are actually delivered to Nigerians.
Will it also affect the attitude of a civil servant to work? Because some just feel, okay, yes, let's just go and let's just answer present and that's
one of the things.
Of course, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
One of the things that Mr. President has approved is a skills gap analysis and personnel audit. So that's going to commence shortly. So we're doing the personnel audit, we're doing the skills gap analysis, and we will be able to understand exactly where we are, where the gaps are, and what we need to move forward. So that will be very important in making sure that we are smarter and we're able to work more efficiently. So we're looking forward to that.
So maybe you should also talk about this issue of some persons wanting to be at home and still receive salaries. You know.
Oh yes, it's been prevalent in the past, but gradually that's becoming a thing of the past, because there have been series of verification exercises carried out at various MDA levels, and beyond that, the permanent secretaries have actually been on top of it, ensuring that officers are at work every now and then. But like the permanent secretary mentioned, the skills gap analysis and the personnel audit and skills gap analysis will aid the total stoppage of those who don't come to work, because it's going to be a physical thing and it's an exercise that's never been done before. Permit me to say that the current head of the civil service of the Federation has come up with a series of innovation, a series of initiatives that are quite service improving, and this is one of them. So the era of people not coming to work, or you go on study leave and
study leave without studying.
Study leave, well, without study for some people, but for most of them they still study, but they study and they don't refuse to come back. That era is gone.
Okay.
I can assure you, once this exercise is complete, once they finalize this exercise, it's not going to be business as usual. Yeah,
there's this fear also, and I'm talking about the digital era. There's this fear that this digitalization will lay off a lot of staff. Can you please talk about that too?
Well, for me, I don't really agree. It's going to enhance our performance. Digitalization is going to enhance work. It's going to bring more transparency. It's going to bring more speed. The way we do our work, we will deliver faster and better. It will reduce bureaucracy. It will reduce corruption, because it's going to reduce person-to-person contact. And one of the things that actually breeds corruption is that person-to-person contact. You know, Nigerians, we are very impatient. Once you want something, you want it just now. And that is one of the reasons why, because you want it just now, you just now say, look, I will give you something. So, if you ask me, the bribe giver is the person who actually sets the tone for corruption. So, but with digitalization,
but sometimes the bribe giver is forced to give.
Well, of course, we have isolated cases like that. Yeah. But with digitalization, it's going to cut off that. There's going to be more accountability, transparency, corruption reduction, speedy delivery of services, and a whole lot more. So I think, and it's going to reduce cost of service delivery. All this photocopying, buying of papers, printing, and the rest is going to thin down. And I think that's a good thing for government. It will improve service delivery, because if I'm meant to do a particular assignment and I'm not in the office, I happen to have traveled wherever. If it's to give approval, like the permanent secretaries or the head of service, they should give the approval for wherever they are. That's, for me, that's a very positive thing about it. So digitalization is the right way to go. The whole world is digitalized.
Of course.
So Nigeria should not be left behind We have to move.
Technology is
Yes.
ruling. It's ruling. So, talk to us, Dr. Odo, about some of the, like you rightly said, a lot of persons came from around the world, not just within Nigeria, outside Nigeria. What are some of the things you say? Okay, you picked from other countries that you think can make our own service delivery better.
So, listening to one of the experts from the United Kingdom, who was quite practical, he talked about how we needed to prioritize. You would have a number of things you want to do at a time, but you would have to prioritize and make sure that you don't take on more than you can chew, so that you can work effectively. Our Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025 ends this year. And already from some of the things we learned at the conference, we've gotten new ideas on how we can fine-tune the process of developing the next one. So we're going to evaluate this one and then develop the next one for the next couple of years. So we have 6 pillars: digitalization, capability, building and talent management, performance management systems. So the upper form, I hope most people know, has been phased out. And now, instead of having annual performance, we have the new performance management system whereby you have regular appraisals, which would allow for correction, for capacity building, for whatever you need to do to make sure that the officer is able to perform, instead of waiting for one whole year to identify the issues and start trying to correct. So that, for many ministries, actually, some had done the paper-based, but many have moved on to the electronic. So for that, we also have staff welfare. That's another priority for us. And from the various sessions, if you go on the website, the agenda is still up on the website. It's www.icsc.ohcsf.gov.ng. icsc.ohcsf.gov.ng. So it's International Civil Service Conference of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Government of Nigeria. The agenda is there, and you will see that it cuts across all our priorities, and each one was in little bites that would make it really practical. Managing change. We had one of our ministers speak, and he really got the house on fire. We had retired permanent secretaries who came in and spoke. We had the chairman of the Federal Civil Service Commission talk about consequence management, which is similar, related to what you were talking about earlier, about how we need to take some very firm and hard decisions regarding consequence management. So a lot of things. It was truly a lot, and we're so enriched by it all.
Now, in just 30 seconds, Mr. Abba, tell us, where do you see the Nigerian civil service in the next 5 years with this kind of conference?
With the tone the current head of civil service of the Federation has set, I believe the service is going to move from its present state to a higher level, obviously, because everybody from the permanent secretary, directors, and other cadres of the civil servant, they are very supportive, they are very cooperative. There's a lot of collaboration going on. For me, I see, if this evening I told her, these permanent secretaries, they have been so supportive. They really supported this huge project we carried out. And that's how it trickled down. So I believe that this is a tone that has been set for the service to ride higher. And we must thank His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Honestly, he's been very supportive of the head of the civil service of the Federation. High initiative. He's been very in all ramifications. Without him, we wouldn't have been
where we are. Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred Abba, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Civil Service Matters, working with the head of Civil Service of the Federation. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And also we had Dr. Deborah Odo, Permanent Secretary, Service Policies and Strategies, OHCSF. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Eucharia Clinton. Goodbye.